Well, welcome everybody to the My Church Daily webinar. We are so glad that you are with us today, and we're going to spend maybe 30 minutes or so, maybe a little more, talking about My Church Daily. This is a new product, and it's brought to you by JSL Solutions, which is our company. We have been serving churches now for 20 years. We work exclusively with churches and ministries. We've developed myflock.com, which was website templates and church management and some other things involved in that back in 2001. And then about 12 years ago or so, we have introduced streamingchurch.tv, which many of you may know us by. Streamingchurch.tv helps churches use the technology of streaming video. And then we also developed churchapplive.com, which is mobile apps. And so we've been involved helping churches and serving churches for many years. All of us on staff here are involved in their local churches or have been involved in leadership and other capacities, which brings me to introducing your host today. My name is Phil Thompson, but before we get into me, let's talk a little bit to Steve Lacey, who is our founder and CEO. Steve, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Yeah, tell us about yourself very quickly here before we actually get into the My Church Daily webinar.
All right. Well, I am a Texas Longhorn engineer. So I'm a degreed engineer. Spent the first half of my career in the aerospace business. And as Phil mentioned, back in 2001, started developing products for the church and have been doing that ever since.
Yes, you have.
Yeah, one of my claims to fame is been involved with the internet and computers for a very long time. Actually was on the internet before there were web browsers back in the early 90s.
Early 90s, before Al Gore invented the internet? Is that
yes, when it was it existed with in the aerospace and defense contractor world, and we were using it to do things like 3D printing stuff way back then.
Wow, way back then. So you have certainly a long history when it comes to technology. Let's introduce Michael Gray. Michael Gray is involved in our customer support. He's on our team. Michael, how are you today? And tell everybody who you are.
Well, I am Michael Gray. You may have chatted with me online if you've resourced our support in chat. But I've been around the church my whole life, and there's very few roles. I think children's ministry is the only thing I've never been in charge of that I can remember. I've done just about everything you can think of. My introduction to this was in 2008. I came on staff full-time as the Church Online pastor, and there was no Church Online. So it didn't, for us, it didn't exist yet. So we began to research and find out what was going on. And then that led to a partnership. Steve had always been partnering with us, but now it was, let's take it to a new level and design an interface and an engagement platform for people online. And I've bounced around in tech and every other area of the church for about a decade before I transitioned into new things that I do now with streamingchurch.tv.
Yeah, that's awesome. Mike's a great guy. And as I said, my name is Phil Thompson. I've been involved working with ministries since the late 70s. Can't believe it's been that long. Also involved in Christian radio. I have a degree in broadcast communications, also a degree in biblical studies. And I've actually been kind of bivocational. It's just kind of happened that way. I've been working with churches and also helped opportunity to help start a couple Christian radio stations here in Tucson. And I've been with the team here since, I don't know how long it's been now, 12 years or so. And my church was actually, I think, the second church to officially use myflock.com, which is something Steve developed 20 years ago. I think we were really officially the second church. I don't know, but we we've been using MyFlock products, and well, anyhow, it's just a pleasure to work with this team and to help churches. And let's move on now and talk a little bit about myChurchDaily. We're really excited about this product. And one of the things we want to bring up is, what in the world is myChurchDaily? Steve, tell us briefly. We'll talk more about this, of course, but tell us briefly, what is this product?
So myChurchDaily is an opportunity for churches to get on the Amazon Alexa devices. We provided a very convenient, very easy way to have your ministry part of the daily briefing and part of the Amazon Alexa world. So that's what it is. We just provide the tools to make it very easy. Record a message, and it's there available to all your church members.
Yeah, and you can see in this slide, there is a Amazon Echo here, which we'll tell you a lot more about and how that works with myChurchDaily. All right, so let's talk a little bit about technology here very quickly. I'm not sure if you're listening or watching this webinar, you probably don't need to be convinced on why your church should use technology, why it should leverage technology. Well, let's just give you a few stats here that I find kind of interesting. And these stats are honestly a couple years old. Most of them do not reflect last year's pandemic stats, which I can pretty much tell you every one of these things we share has gone up substantially. The first thing we need to always know and remember is that really, according to the Barnum Group, 57% of Bible readers search for content on the internet. So they're using the internet to really look more into the scriptures. Also coming up, we need to know that 38% of people increased their Bible readership last year by downloading something such as a Bible app, or by listening to religious podcasts or streaming services. And again, that's actually probably from 2019. So you can count on the 38% going much higher because of the pandemic, obviously, last year. And then we've got 35% listening, or they listen to at least a teaching via a podcast. I was kind of, I guess, surprised by that, but that's probably up as well. 74% of churches now facilitate online giving. I think that's gone up, but online giving is certainly something that churches have used with technology. 96% of pastors use a computer at church. And as we continue to move on here, 80% of nonprofits, which would include churches, say that their website is the most important communications channel for outreach. And we actually just did a blog post about a little bit about this, but we'll talk about that another time. So let's look at, well, and also 80% of churches use some form of visual projection. Now we're talking, pro presenters going on the screens at your church, or media shout or something like that. The days of people just kind of staring at the platform are gone. There's actually projection going on for most churches now. All right, so technology that churches have used over the years. We are not going to get into the Roman road. We're not going to get into the printing press, although churches have taken advantage of that, or Christianity had with printing the Bible. Let's talk about recent things such as radio. Radio's been around for a long time, but probably in the 50s, 60s, especially the 60s and 70s, churches got on radio and started to play their sermons and do things on the radio. That followed by television. And of course, in the 80s, especially, television kicked in really high, 80s and 90s. Computers, of course, Steve was mentioning earlier in his career, early 90s computers started to really get more popular, and churches took advantage of that. Media duplication evolved out of that. And that's just simply, what I mean by that is just simply mass producing very easily and quickly DVDs, CDs, those kind of things. You could quickly reproduce a message when it came to mass duplication. Websites, of course, as we mentioned earlier, websites started to come online, and now almost every church has a website. We still, because we do streaming video as one of our products, we do run across some new churches that don't seem to have websites yet. Not sure why that is, but websites are very important and valuable. Most churches have them. Online giving, of course, goes along with that. And then mobile apps soon followed, as well as streaming video, especially during the pandemic. What's coming up next when it comes to technology churches should start using? Well, the answer is all about today's webinar, smart speakers. Smart speakers are the next step that can really help your church reach people, connect with people. We'll tell you a little more about that as time goes on. Here's an image that I just wanted to give you before we talk a little bit about the history of smart speakers and the Amazon Echo and how Alexa figures in on all that. There's a few shots here of what Alexa will work with some of the Amazon products. You'll see some screens here. Steve, I don't remember. What is the, I have one of these at home and I don't even remember what it's called. It's not an Echo Dot. The Echo Dots are here, as well as Echo.
The ones with the screens are Echo Show.
Echo Show, exactly.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know why. I should remember that. So, there's a variety of things that Amazon has developed and Alexa works off of. And just to give you a little bit of an idea of the history, Alexa first launched the Echo, the Amazon Echo, in November of 2014. And the Echo and Alexa with it. And by the way, the difference between the Echo and Alexa is kind of it would be your personal assistant. And the Echo would be the actual hardware device. Did I get that right?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So
exactly.
So Alexa is your personal assistant, and that kind of works with that. So initially, this was only available to Arizona Prime customers, or members. But then they released the thing to everybody. I think in June of 2015, 2017, things began to take off. The public got a hold of it. And Alexa did a lot of integrations with third-party products. Amazon announced in September 2018 there's going to be a wide range of new Alexa capabilities and all sorts of skills that we'll talk about here in a moment. And it may have taken them just a couple of years to get going here, but now they are just going like gangbusters. And as you'll see here in this next graph, the number of smart speakers in the United States household has grown by over 135% in the last 2 years. And that's from 67 million in 2017 to 119 million in 2018 to 157 million in December of 2019. And again, these numbers are much higher. So let's talk a little bit about how this whole thing works and the different skills that Alexa has. Because initially, I think people thought, well, Alexa and the Amazon Echo, I can talk to it. It will talk to me. But Steve Lacy, there's much more to this than what just hearing things on a speaker, right?
Yeah. Its initial thrust was as a personal assistant and primarily used for music. I think that was one of the more common, people that bought them. You primarily listened to music with them. But as you mentioned on the prior chart, in 2018, they opened it up to third parties and the ability to create skills, which is kind of like the iPhone opening up the App Store for apps. It's provided the ability for other third parties to get into the game here. And so all these third parties have jumped in, and I'm a big user of home automation things, and I think a lot of people out there are. So you can use it to control your lights. We have it set to unlock and lock our front door, and we have it set for our garage door. And one of my favorites is the thermostat, because I can just say, Alexa, make it warmer, or make it colder, and it just adjusts the thermostat and doesn't do anything. So it's great, including most recent addition is the Roomba vacuum cleaner is now works with, I can say, Alexa, go vacuum the bedroom. So,
wow, that's interesting. Pretty soon it will make dinner for you and feed you.
That would be nice, huh?
Feed you with a spoon. All right, yeah. So as you see in the little chart here we've got here, there's just a lot of things. You have a developer on the far left. Developers have come up with things that work through the cloud, and then the skills. So I guess you would say the skills are like when you say, when you put a new skill in your Alexa deal, it's like an app, right? I mean, it's would you
very
like
similar model. It's like putting an app on your phone.
Yeah, there you go. All right, and so you can see all the things that Steve mentioned. temperatures and all that stuff. All right. So what is the flash briefing? We really want to talk about the flash briefing because this is a skill that you can have on your Alexa device. The flash briefings really are audio pieces, usually topical, usually short. They range from news to inspirational quotes, financial tips, sports. And so the flash briefings that we're going to talk about today and how your church can be on that are really a subset of the Amazon Alexa skills. And as I alluded to earlier, skills are essentially the apps for your Amazon smart speaker. Here's a few brands, so to speak, or companies that are pretty well known that are on this. You'll see the Weather Channel, you'll see CNN, ESPN Sports. There are some Christian things like the Holy Bible, Sounds of Worship, Fox News, of course, This Day in History, the NBA. Does anybody even watch NBA games anymore? CNN is on there. And you'll notice on this slide here, I put something that says Your Church Here. And what I'm getting at is your church can have its own flash briefing. And we'll talk about that in just a moment or so. Here's a little example. If you're standing on the left and say, Alexa, give me my flash briefing. If your church has a flash briefing and your members add that skill, they can hear your church, your pastor, or somebody from your church share something in a flash briefing along with other flash briefing skills that they can have. All right, so this will take us now to our little time of live demonstration here. And so I think we're going to ask, who's going to do this? Is it Steve or Mike that's going to do this?
I can do it.
Okay, so give us a demonstration live.
So I've got my device here, and Alexa, play my flash briefing.
Jay, here's your flash briefing from Alive Church.
Welcome to another day in God's Word and the Alive Church Life Transformation Bible Discipleship Plan. These readings are accessible through Amazon Music and Alexa, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Find out more at alivechurch.com. This week, our focus is on faith and works. And here's the daily reading. I will use my freedom to serve others in love.
Pause. So
very nice.
This is set up for my flash briefing, and so it goes through. It starts with my church's flash briefing, then it goes to weather and news and sports and other things as well. So as you heard, our church is kind of set up for a daily devotion. So I've got my daily devotion, which is unique and new every day, as soon as I wake up.
Yeah, that's great. And the morning thing, we'll talk a little bit about that, but as you were just alluding to, it's kind of designed to, when you wake up, get your flash briefing, and then you can move on with life. Although I guess you could do it in the evening. I guess you could do it any time. Right?
It's kind of it's geared for that when you're getting out of bed or you're coming home from work. It's kind of the that time in your typically in your bedroom or your kitchen where you're saying, what's going on today? What's on my calendar?
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about why your church, or let's talk first about the advantages of the smart speaker. And I'd like to ask Michael Gray if he's able to share a little bit about his thoughts on the advantages to actually having a smart speaker.
Well, part of what we talked about, and as your graphic shows, we're talking about no distractions. It's a different technology than most of how we consume. So if you're like me, you set a computer to work during the day, and you may have some music playing in the background from Pandora or wherever, maybe even your Amazon Alexa, but on the screen you're engaging in Facebook and Instagram and all of these different channels that are incredibly easy to get distracted by and kind of drag you down the giant rabbit hole of getting lost and losing hours of time by being completely distracted. The Alexa is a different technology that is more like as if you're watching television, in that you're relaxed, you're consuming, it's coming at you, you're listening, you're hopefully focused on what's being said. And of course it's audio, not visual, but you're hearing that flash briefing, you're getting that information distraction free. And it's different from a lot of ways that we consume information now.
Yeah, it's really true. I can relate. We do podcasts. We do the Church Solutions podcast, and we make it on different platforms. One of those is uploading it to YouTube. And whenever I go to upload it to YouTube after we've done it, and this, we do a video version of it, which is what I'm referring to, I'll always see something that YouTube will suggest I look at. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to watch that right now. I need to do something. But then I'll see something like, a Jeep that's lifted, or, something, a baseball thing or something. Like, well, I'll just take a quick look at that. And then the next thing I know, I'm spending multiple minutes looking at all sorts of things. That's distractions. But the smart speaker, that's not included in that. You don't have distractions with the smart speaker. You have the product coming right at you, or the topic coming right at you, as you said. And so it's as Steve Lacy calls it, it's laid back. Tell me what you mean.
There's lean forward technology that Mike was referring to, stuff that your phone and your computer, where you're leaning forward and you're studying or looking at something, as opposed to lay back or lean back technology, where you're sitting on your sofa and you're much more relaxed watching TV. So this kind of occupies that lean back space that, you encourage churches to be on the social media and that other areas to market, but this is just an area where there's very few distractions if you're on this platform.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So what can you do with myChurchDaily? So there's lots of things you can do here. But the main thing I want to bring in, and we'll get into some details as far as content that you could actually do if you choose to use myChurchDaily. But the main thing is you're connecting with your people. If you use myChurchDaily to get on Alexa, to have a flash briefing, you send something out and people will connect with you and your church. And that's very important to do. And so let's talk a little bit here about why myChurchDaily would be something that would be useful to you. As we mentioned, you're connecting with your people, but not just on Sundays. You're connecting with them daily. If you choose to have a flash briefing daily, you don't have to do it every day, but I think it might be something worthwhile. You will strengthen their walk with God. You will reinforce the weekly message every day. Those of us involved in ministry know that people only retain so much of what they hear. There's been studies on this. And so you do a great, as a pastor, I would put together what I would consider a really very good Sunday sermon, a good presentation. But the truth is, by Wednesday or Thursday, most people will forget a large part of that. Well, you can reinforce your weekend messages using myChurchDaily by using little snippets and little maybe points that you could put in. And of course, myChurchDaily is meant to be a very short audio clip, 3 to 5 minutes long. So you're reinforcing people. You're reminding them of what they heard Sunday.
That reminds me of I'm good friends with the pastor of our church, and I'm friends with friends of his as well. And I remember going into work one day and talking to our pastor's friend, and he mentioned, he goes, "So what did Jeff teach on yesterday?" And I was like drawing a blank. I was like, oh my gosh, it was, he harassed me to no end. She's like, he knew the energy you put into a message, and I could not even remember what he talked about the day before. So anyway.
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy to do. So, again, a lot of it has to do with distractions, but you can reinforce what's happening. And there's lots of different things. I remember many years ago, I used to be on the radio. Besides being in Christian radio, I actually, when I was senior pastor of a church, I actually had a radio show And I remember somebody coming up to me on the street one day and said, you know, it's so nice to be able to just hear your voice coming into my home. And, you know, it's that might sound a little corny, but the truth is people find comfort, you know, when they like the pastor, when they like the message, when they like their church, it's encouraging and comforting to hear the pastor's voice wherever they might hear it, on the radio, on TV, or whatever. But especially using My Church Daily and a flash briefing, the pastor's voice comes right into your home, or if not the pastor, one of the key staff people in there. So it's really something you can do to connect with people. And of course, it can help your church grow. People get excited about things, they share it with their friends. And so ultimately, you're getting the word out there, not only the gospel, which is very important, but also, you know, your ministry and what you're trying to do. Here's some content ideas. We touched on them a little bit just a few minutes ago, but sermon segments, you could do a thought for the day. You could do a daily devotion. You could do audio announcements. In other words, you know, things happening in the church, special announcements, things coming up. You could do a scripture of the day. You could do some things, which I think is kind of important here. You could do some spotlight your leadership team. You know, in 3 to 5 minutes, you could talk, or have even one of those leaders talk a little bit about their life, share their testimony, who they are, what it means for them to be serving the church. And the same goes with the volunteers. Most of our volunteers are underappreciated. So spotlighting a key volunteer not only encourages the volunteer, but it helps the church get to know these people and appreciate them. And of course, there's their membership spotlight, people in your church congregation that maybe you don't know much about, but they've got an interesting story or testimony. Special events. You could do, I've got here in the slide, the answer of the day, which really means what's the question of the day. So many people have questions about Christianity, questions about even events. And as leadership, we could provide some answers. And you could give an answer to something maybe involving the church, or a biblical answer. Audio newsletter is another one. Church history segments. These are just a few ideas that you could share. And when I say church history, it could be you. Many of you have a church that has a long, rich history. Many of you have a church that has an interesting testimony about how they started. Or you could talk about church history in general, things that have happened in Christianity over the last 1,000 years or so. Some great ideas that you could always use while helping connect people. So the next question is, well, this is interesting, Phil, but how easy is it for us to do this? And how easy is it for us to get started? Well, it's very simple. You can just go to mychurchdaily.com. And when you go there, you'll see our website that looks, well, pretty much like this. You can create an account. It's free. You have a 14-day free trial. And you can just simply get started by doing that. It's that easy. Once you create the account, then the next step is loading your messages up on there. And you might say, well, how do I don't know if I have equipment to do audio. I'm not sure. Isn't that kind of complicated? Isn't that kind of a hassle? Well, the answer is probably not, because if you have a smartphone, which a lot of people have, you have the ability to record using your phone. And if you don't have that on your phone, you can get a free app to do that. Not a big deal. You can record your audio using your phone. You can always go to your trusty computer. There's lots of free software out there to record. Audacity is one of those. But you can record right on your computer and even do some editing on there if you wanted to. Not hard to do once you get moving on it. And then from there, you can just upload it. You log in once you've created the free account to mychurchdaily.com. You'll see there's a login in the upper right, and you log in there. And once you log in there, you'll see an admin control panel, very simple, very much like this one, where there'll be a help video on there. There's just some tools that are not overly complicated. You can upload a number of messages at a time. How many messages, Steve, can we upload at one time?
There is no limit. Yeah, it's real simple. You upload your message and you just drop them onto the day you want them to play, and you're done. Yeah, so and that's all you need to do.
So you get in a groove, you can do a number of messages and just have it all done.
At our church, the guy that does them on, I think, Sunday, and for the whole week. So he has 7 messages.
Yeah.
He records and uploads and schedules them all at one day.
It's really not hard to do. It's pretty simple. And of course, we're always around to help you. So the bottom line is this is easy to use. My Church Daily is easy to use. You get a 14-day free trial. And you also get an introductory price of $49 a month if you would like to activate. And one of the things you get with us is just really good customer support. That's what we're known for. We've been working with churches. That's our vision. That's our goal. We've been doing that for many years now. And we pride ourselves in being available to churches as often as we can, 7 days a week. So let's talk a little bit about questions that you might have and see if we can provide some answers for you with this My Church Daily webinar. There's a number of questions that people have asked me about this, and I'll throw out a few here. Maybe, Mike, you've run across a couple, but I think the first thing that somebody asked me was, well, if we sign up for this thing, what's the obligation? Is there a contract? Is there something I need to sign? Am I locked into a certain period of time? Steve?
So no, there's, as you mentioned, it's a 14-day free trial. There's no obligation. You don't have to give us a credit card or do anything like that. You just check it out, see if it works for you. If it does work for you, you activate. If it does, if you don't want to go forward, it'll automatically close your account when you're done. And if you do decide to activate, it's month to month. You can quit at any time. So there's no long-term commitments or anything like that.
Okay. Mike, here's a question for you, since you do tech support. Is there any software that I need to make this happen if I'm going to use My Church Daily?
Well, we'll see. I've got a little construction going in the background, but no, as you said before, very simple. You can record to your computer, you can record to your phone, upload that very simply, very easily, and of course.
All right. There's definitely construction going on there at Mike's house. But yeah, I would reiterate that, Mike, you're right. There's really no special software other than what we mentioned. And it's free. You can do that. And we can always recommend, if you need some help with that, that's part of what we do here is help churches with lots of different things. And we'll certainly help you with this. Here's a question for you. Is this going to be available on other smart speakers? So instead of just Amazon's Echo and their devices, are there other smart speakers this will be available on?
That is definitely the vision for the product. We're starting with the Alexa. That is the gorilla, the 700-pound gorilla in this space. Amazon Alexa is, I think, 70% of the market or so. So that's where we're starting. But yes, we want to move into the other smart speakers. Probably Google's would be the number 2, the Google Home. And way down the line there is, you would think it'd be more popular because everybody's heard about them, but Apple has a device, but it's only, I think it's less than 4% of the market right now. So yep, well, the plan is to migrate to others, but for now it is just Amazon Alexa.
How will my people, so this is a question that somebody involved in ministry would say, how would my people actually know if we have a flash briefing? So let's say I'm a pastor and I sign up and I go to My Church Daily and I create the account and I start uploading the audio messages for the flash briefing. Well, how's anybody going to know that we actually have this available to them?
Yeah. Well, this would be similar to just about anything. If you start streaming your service, or you have a website, or you have a mobile app or whatever, it's up to you as the church to let your people know. So, at my church, they've done campaigns where just it's part of the newsletter saying, hey, we're part of the Alexa daily briefing. Here's how to get it. We've done video segments as part, during the message where it says, here's how it works. Here's how you add it. It's, a 30-second, 1-minute video showing how people can find it. So the one thing we haven't mentioned is the briefing will be branded for your church. So it's customized for you. It's found in the Alexa Skills Store by your name with your logo and all of your information. So you can send people to the Alexa app to go look for it and just say, type in Milwaukee Church or whatever, and they'll be able to find you as well.
Oh, good. Well, that's good to know. What about privacy issues? If I'm going to get a smart speaker and start doing this, how secure is this? I mean, do we have privacy? You're a guy that worked in the aerospace industry for years. You understand security. What about this question?
Well, this was definitely an initial concern as it was introduced, and all the devices have built-in off buttons where you can turn off the microphone so it can't listen to you. So it's something you manage. It's not going to, contrary to rumors and stuff, it's not memorizing what you say and going to, come to your house with, information. You said this to your wife. I heard it. That's not going to happen. As we mentioned, it's in a little over a third of every household in the U.S. right now. So it's something that's really gaining traction, and you control the privacy of it, and the devices are, they're managing that as well.
That's all the questions that I've gotten from people. I think that's a very important question, and I think that we can rest assured that there is privacy, and the word Alexa, that's what wakes up the Echo device, and there may be times where it wakes up because they've heard the name Alexa on TV or something going down the hallway, but I think that's a good explanation there. So moving on here.
Yeah, it doesn't listen unless you say the wake word. So
yeah, the magic word.
All right,
yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So again, I'd encourage you right now to go to mychurchdaily.com, and you can sign up there, create a free account. It's free. It's easy to use. You've got a 14-day free trial. There is an introductory price of $49 a month, but you don't have to activate. There's no obligation to make the free trial, no credit card required to make a free trial. And at the end of 14 days, if you like this and you want to do it, then you can activate and you can get that price. You're going to get excellent customer support. We will help you every step of the way, as we do with all the products that we have with streaming church.tv and mychurchdaily.com. And we're going to be there. We've got live support. You can reach us. I just talked to a customer yesterday that said, I can't tell you how nice it is to hear your voice on the other end of the phone. And I said, you like my voice? He goes, well, not crazy about your voice, but it's nice to talk to a live person. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll take that. But it's really true today. Tech companies, it's so hard to get a hold of people. We are very accessible, live chat, email, phone. We'll be happy to help you. And we can give you advice, and we can give you some tips and some assistance and some guidance, because that's what we do, and we love doing it. So again, go to mychurch daily, make mychurchdaily.com and create a free trial and try it.
Sounds great. Yes. And just adding on to your message there about, all of us have been involved with churches our whole lives, so we understand how church works. We're not just a tech company out there trying to make a buck. We understand the ministry aspect and the challenges of the ministry. And so we know what it's like when you say, it's tough getting volunteers. We're like, yeah, been there, done that.
Yep. Yeah, we certainly do. And Mike and I know that, especially being involved in leadership. All right. Well, folks, if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email, support@mychurchdaily.com, or you can call us. We have the 866-852-6648 number. And we'd be happy to help you any way that we can, or you can chat with us live at mychurchdaily.com. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Steve. And I'm Phil Thompson. For all of us here at mychurchdaily.com, have yourself a great day. Take care, and we'll catch you next time.